All right, ready to dive into some seriously weird capitals around the world?
Let's do it. I think we're in for some surprises.
I think so too, looking at these notes. Okay, so you've got Nauru marked down here.
Yes. Nauru.
Tiny island nation, right.
Tiny is right, and they decided, you know what? We don't really need a capital city, do we?
No official capital. They just said nah to the whole idea.
Basically, it's fascinating how their geography plays into it. Nauru is so small and their population so spread out. Makes more sense for them to have a government that operates across the whole island.
Like a decentralized network instead of everything flowing from one central location. I wonder, on a practical level, what that means for people living there.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Does it make accessing services, dealing with the government easier? Or does it bring a whole new set of challenges?
I guess we need a whole other deep dive to really unpack that.
Absolutely.
Speaking of capitals with unusual backstories, we've got Canberra on the list.
Oh, Canberra. Talk about a city with a purpose-built identity.
You mean because it was basically created to be Australia's capital?
Exactly. Remember that whole rivalry between Sydney and Melbourne? Each wanted the title of capital city.
Couldn't it just flip a coin or something?
It was more complicated than that, I think. They were pretty much at a standstill, couldn't agree on anything.
And their solution was to create an entirely new city.
That's one way to settle debate.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, they completely shaped Canberra's destiny.
It makes you wonder, how different would things be if one of the other cities had become the capital?
Imagine the alternate timelines.
Okay, ready for another capital city curveball?
Hit me with it.
We've got La Paz, Bolivia, marked as a high-altitude capital. And I'm not talking about a hilltop city here. We're talking serious elevation.
Oh yeah, La Paz is no joke when it comes to altitude. 12,000 feet above sea level.
12,000. You'd need to pack an oxygen mask with your suitcase.
You're not wrong. It's one of the highest capital cities in the world. It boggles the mind, trying to imagine building an entire city up there.
I mean, talk about logistical challenges. Just getting supplies up there must be a feat. And don't even get me started on the altitude sickness.
It really makes you appreciate the ingenuity it takes to build a functioning city in such an extreme environment.
So it's not just the highest capital, it's also a testament to human resilience, it seems.
For sure. But there's more to La Paz than just its altitude. You also flagged a note about Bolivia having two capitals.
Oh, right. I almost forgot. Okay, so La Paz is the highest, but it's sharing the capital spotlight with another city. Tell me more.
Right, so it's not quite as simple as La Paz being the one and only. You see, Sucre holds the title of Bolivia's constitutional capital.
Two capitals, two titles. Makes you wonder, how does that even work? Is Sucre like the understudy waiting in the wings if something happens to La Paz?
Not quite an understudy, no. More like a division of responsibilities, you see. It's all tied to Bolivia's past. Sucre, with its colonial history, embodies the constitution, the judicial power, that kind of thing. And then there's La Paz.
Which is where the government actually does its thing, day to day.
Precisely. So you have these two cities, each reflecting a different facet of what it means to be a capital.
It's like having two sides of the same coin. Or, well, two capitals for the same country. And we thought one was complicated. I like it, though. It's a nice reminder that the idea of a capital city isn't always so cut and dry.
You're absolutely right. It's not always just about the biggest buildings or the busiest streets. Sometimes it's about recognizing the historical weight, the symbolism that a city carries.
It makes you wonder what other countries have these unusual capital situations going on.
Oh, you'd be surprised. There are actually quite a few examples around the globe. Take South Africa, for instance.
What's their story?
They decided, why have one capital when you can have three?
Three! You're kidding.
Nope. Pretoria is the administrative capital, Cape Town's where Parliament does its business, and Bloemfontein. That's home to the Supreme Court of Appeal.
Talk about spreading the love. Okay, South Africa definitely wins for most capitals in this deep dive so far, though I imagine it makes things a tad more complex, having all those government functions in different cities.
Oh, definitely. But it's also a pretty powerful statement, don't you think?
Definitely. It seems like it says a lot about their commitment to decentralizing power, which, when you think about South Africa's history, makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. It's about more than just logistics. It's a reflection of their values, their identity as a nation.
Blows that whole capital city as the center of everything idea right out of the water.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really makes you realize there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to capitals.
And that's what's so great about these deep dives. We get to go from a country with no capital at all to ones with 2, even 3 capitals, each with their own story.
Yeah, it shows just how much variety there is, how adaptable the whole concept of a capital can be. It's a blend of so many things, isn't it?
Absolutely. Geography plays a part, sure, and the political landscape, but it's more than that.
Right, you've got the historical context, the cultural significance, all these factors coming together.
It's about finding a system that works, that reflects the unique character of a nation.
Makes those little dots on a map seem a lot more interesting, huh?
They really aren't just dots, are they? Each one represents a story, a whole chain of decisions and events that led to that city becoming a capital.
Next time I'm looking at a map, I'm going to be thinking, okay, what's your story?
Exactly. Every capital, whether it's a global powerhouse or a lesser-known gem, has something to tell us about the world.
It's like a hidden layer of history and culture, just waiting to be discovered.
And who knows what other capital city quirks we might uncover in our next deep dive.
That's right. So until next time, keep exploring and stay curious. There's a whole world out there full of surprises.